Hi, this is Linda Hines and welcome to my studio. Today we are going to play with transparent extender paint. So let's get started. Starting out with blue, and this is transparent paint that's already pre-mixed. And I'm putting it on my palette, which is just a styrofoam plate. And I'm using one of those scrapers you can buy at auto stores, but you can use anything. You can even use an old credit card. And I'm just making marks on the fabric, just trying to get some paint on it. And then once we get done with that, then I'm going to pull it. Just pull it and just get as much of it off as I can. And then we're going to add turquoise. So I always like those two colors together. And we're putting the turquoise on the palette again. And again, this is a transparent paint too. So with transparent paints, it's neat because you can see, like when you put it on top of the darker blue, you'll still see the turquoise and vice versa. It's just a really good paint to use. So let's see what we've got here. And now we're going to, again, pull it. And then I decided I want to have a background. We're going to use this transparent extender. And this is what we're talking about. What we're going to do is make that turquoise blue even more transparent than it is so we can make it into a background paint. So I'm adding some of the extender onto my palette, and I'm going to mix it up with that turquoise. So if I get a spoon here and start mixing, and it's kind of how much to put in, it's just depending on how light you want it. So I want it to be, and be really light. You can already tell that the turquoise above where I've mixed is darker. And so we'll add a little bit more because I don't want the background to be real dark. So we're going to keep mixing it and see until I get a color I really like. And it doesn't really take long. So I think I came to the color that I like, and I'm going to go ahead and use that as the background. And if you look at this, you'll see that it is blue, but it is a very, very light, transparent blue. And so you'll see how it's going on in the background. I'm not going to show you all of this because it took me a little while to do this, but just to give you the idea of how it's done. And so I'm done here. I'm done with the background. And while it's still wet, I thought, well, I'd really like to do something else. So I am going to take the extender and add a little bit of white to it, and I'm going to use my stencils. The stencils I'm using are from Joggles, and I'll have a link below for you to see them. So what I'm doing is just putting that extender with, it does have a little bit of white in it, because if it had no white, then it'd be pretty much, the extender is clear. So when it dries. Another thing with this, looking at this project, what we're putting down, it looks like it's going to be real white, but it won't. And once it dries, it will be pretty clear. And I should have really probably pinned the fabric down because it moves with the stencil. Also wants to show you the stenciling, how I move around, I look and stop, and I move around and try to decide where I want more. And I like also not using the whole stencil, just using parts of it to add to the piece. So I am just finishing up here, and we'll see. And again, everything is wet. We're still wet. So I guess I want to add a few more because I'm looking at it and it just looks pretty bare. And so I want a little bit up there. and see if there's any other place that needs it. A little piece down there. That's what takes some time, is to really think about, how you want, how you want to finish this. Is it done yet? And sometimes you just have to kind of look back and or take a look, step back and say, ooh, I want to add a little bit more there or whatever. So I'm just adding a little bit more, and we're getting really close to finished. There's an empty place up there, so it'd be nice to have some there. And that's it. Okay, this is how it looks right now while it's wet. And this is a finished piece. And you'll see how there's a lot of transparency where the stencil was. But that is the finished piece. And here is another piece that I did. Now this I used a different stencil, and I used a lot of white in the extenders. So they're more white than transparent. And this one, again, I hardly used any white in the transparent extender, and I used an orange background, and this one I used a blue background, and this one was the first one I did, and I decided not to do a stencil, and it's really a nice piece for background only. So anyway, thank you for watching my video. A link to the blog post about this is below, and also the link to the stencils and other information. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.